Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up in this bulletin, International Monetary Fund warns of serious shocks of Ghana's economic outlook due to risk of commodity price volatility. We will hear from them shortly as they also classify Ghana as a high risk of debt distressed country despite significant progress made on restricting monies owed bilateral creditors. Also in this bulletin, Bank of Ghana Amendment Bill places legal cap on any financial support to government, review reporting lines for Bank of Ghana governor, as well as enhance institutions' independence and automatic capitalization. We'll be discussing that. Plus, management of the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park appeals for support in the development of the Nkrumah Library and other memorable experiences to boost revenue generated from the facility.
So we need to be constantly reinvesting. We need to be constantly investing in the facility, upgrading the facilities, keeping what we have well maintained, but also adding new things.
We have details of these and more for you. Please stay on. Thanks so much for your company. I am Pius Kojobaka, and looking at our stories. The International Monetary Fund is warning that Ghana's economy is still exposed to serious shocks and risk in the coming months. And this warning was captured in the IMF staff report after its board approved the country's fifth review program. More in this report.
According to the IMF, their warnings is based on the fact that the current growth of the economy is mainly fueled by rising prices of commodities, especially when it comes to that of gold. Therefore, any changes or unfortunate conditions could badly affect Ghana's economy going forward. The IMF is also highlighting investor concerns about whether the current momentum can be sustained going forward and won't be hit by any policy slippages. There are also concerns about whether government can complete the current debt restructuring program on time, especially when it comes to that of commercial creditors. The IMF notes that all these concerns, it makes it worried about the current stability in the coming months and whether it can be sustained going forward.
Meanwhile, the latest IMF staff report has classified the country as a high risk of debt distress. The IMF is making this judgment despite the significant progress that Ghana has made on reducing its debt stock and progress on debt owed bilateral creditors. Now, one is not sure whether the fund will still have some concerns about the economy going forward, and we shall be bringing you more in our subsequent bulletins. And to some other stories we have for you, any financial assistance that the Bank of Ghana can extend to government in difficult times going forward will be capped, guided strictly by law and regulations. And this is one of several provisions captured in the Bank of Ghana's amendment bill passed by Parliament last week. We have more for you in this report. Amendment Bank of Ghana bill, which is currently before President John Mahama for assent, is seeking to place some legal cap on any financial assistance that the Bank of Ghana can extend to government in times of crisis. It also outlines some strict regulations on the form, structure, and how it should be done. A careful read of the bill also shows that this provision has been influenced by recent debt exchange program that impacted on the profits of the central bank. The bill is also seeking to establish what can be described as automatic capitalization of the Bank of Ghana when actions of government puts the central bank's finances in some challenge. But the big question for some is that have we already gotten there when it comes to automatic capitalization? looking at the impact of the recent debt exchange program on the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana Governor, Dr. Johnson Esiama, is currently required to report to the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiala Tuforsen, when it comes to annual reports and some developments in the monetary space. However, this amendment bill is now seeking to add Parliament to this list. If President John Mahama finally signs the bill into an act, members of Parliament will also be barred from serving on the board of the Bank of Ghana. This is part of measures to enhance the independence of the institution. Let's have a better understanding of the Bank of Ghana's amendment bill passed by Parliament. Joining us via Zoom to do that is banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahini. Thank you so much, sir, for making time to join us here on the Marketplace, and a Merry Christmas to you. Good to see you as well. It's been a while. Now, your thoughts about this amendment bill passed by Parliament?
Thank you very much. A Merry Christmas to you all. I think we are in the step in the right direction, but we needed to have done more, because it's the first time that we have been very serious about what has happened to the country, but Central Bank 2022 and 2023, where you monetize government deficit. That has led us into this whole recapitalization issue that is baffling the current government. And I believe that these are very good. However, we need to toughen it because if you look at it critically, it said in force majeure. Force majeure, if there is COVID, if there's an earthquake, then the central bank can also monetize some of these things. And I would have thought that we would have placed a total caveat on it and stop it so that it doesn't happen what has happened to us previously. Secondly, I mean, look at what the finance minister is saying, at least about the board governance. It is never done anywhere where politicians, parliamentarians sit on the central bank board. I just recently watched the Nigerians, recent as I think last week or last year. What they did is that the names of the board members would be submitted to the Senate, and the Senate would approve, independent approval. But it's not where the politicians, the parliamentarians sitting on the board. I mean, already the job at the parliament is so huge, especially the oversight responsibility of the central bank. If you don't have people who really understand the nuances of central bank, it is very difficult to have an oversight. So to appoint some people to go and sit on the Bank of Ghana board and at the same time be a referee and a player, it was not good. And I believe the minister is doing the right thing, and we should all support him. And he should even go further. If you look at the term, now it's not 4 years, because all over the world it's currently 5 years, so that the people can work independently. But what I would urge him is that even appointing the board members of central bank, it should not be the prerogative alone of the government. Because if you go to other jurisdictions where their central banks are functioning, they bring independent thinking minds. Independent, when I say independent, people who have nothing to do with the politics or the business. Go to Nigeria. Recently, they appointed one of the central bank directors. He wrote to them that because of conflict of interest, he doesn't want to do it. And you can't have it in Ghana. People don't even have conflict of interest in our English. And Nigeria recent, the person appointed said no. So I think it's the step in the right direction, but we must do more to give the Bank of Ghana the operational independence and the financial independence and the political independence so that we can have a central bank that can stand a test of time. He is doing the right thing. I agree with him, but he should have gone far more exceedingly above to do certain things to help us to have an independent central bank.
And how do we ensure that, well, this bill is effectively executed in order to, we see the independence you talk about with regards to the Bank of Ghana's operations, etc. How do we ensure that, well, these laws, are effectively dealt with?
If we go into the Constitution allows Central Bank of Ghana to be independent. And I want them to go back into the Constitution and make sure that the Constitution is amended in such a way that people cannot go to Bank of Ghana and monetize. Let me repeat the word. Monetize government expenditure, where the fiscal deficit overran 15% of the GDP. I mean, We need people who will tell the central bank, don't do it. You don't. That's the reason why I agree with the finance minister that he doesn't want ministers to go and sit and influence certain decisions of central bank. And I will let him go further, like the constitutional amendment. Some of the, I believe this will be part of the constitutional amendment. That has to be taken good care of that. This should be entrenched or enshrined in the constitution so that it doesn't become a jigsaw. When we have majority, if you remember the Fiscal Responsibility Act 982 or 908 something, because Bank of Ghana, we passed the law, but when it came to passing it, the parliament had a majority and they passed it and caused a mess. And that is why I think the Central Bank Act, limiting it, should be part of the constitutional amendment so that no parliament, no government will go and just amend it to suit them to monetize or finance government deficit.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dr. Richmond Etuahene, a banking consultant. Grateful speaking to us here on the marketplace. Now, management of the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park has appealed for support in the development of the Nkrumah Library and other memorable experiences to boost revenue generated from the facility. In an interview with my colleague Isaac Atase-Nyako, Executive Director of the park, Dr. Collins Nunyiname, revealed that although the site generates a monthly average revenue of 600,000 cedis, more investments will be needed to maintain and improve facilities at the park.
Generate, I'll give you just something rough. About 600,000, 700,000 a month.
Just from visitors?
Just from visitors. But mind you, part of it goes to government.
Right.
So we don't keep everything. And of course, we are now making appeal. My minister is leading that charge to see if we can retain a little more than what we retain now. So we retain something, but it's not, I mean, in terms of the investments that need to be made here, apart from the maintenance, there had to still be some significant investment. You see, I tell people that this is a tourist site, and the numbers that were here in 2023, if you don't do anything, they will decrease by 2024. And if you don't do anything, they will decrease by 2025. If you make no investment, if you do nothing, if you just sit down, they will decrease by 2026. They will keep going down until you go back to the original. So we need to be constantly reinvesting. We need to be constantly investing in the facility, upgrading the facilities, keeping what we have well maintained, but also adding new things that would keep the excitement alive for people to want to come and come again. So we will do something, but yes, I think government also needs to help us in terms of the retention. We hope that our application through the minister will succeed.
Now, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, says more work must be done to expand and strengthen the national power grid to meet rising electricity demand. This follows concerns raised by the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, over increasing power consumption across the country, which is putting pressure on existing transmission infrastructure. Speaking to the media after a health walk organized by the ministry, Mr. Jinapor noted that while government continues to improve power generation, equal attention must be given to transmission and distribution to ensure stable and reliable power supply.
Today, I got a message from Gridco that our peak demand has reached an all-time high. That's about 4,300 megawatts. So we are seeing a very huge increase in terms of energy consumption. And that also presents a challenge. It means that we have to work very hard to sustain the lights and keep the lights on. And so in the coming months, we'll have to double our efforts and work very, very hard to ensure that we have stable supply of power. But also in the petroleum sector, we need to double up and increase production because that ultimately affects the living conditions of people as well as the downstream. But more importantly, roll out a lot of renewable energy to reduce the burden. And so I want to call on you, the lawyers in particular, you would always review all our contracts, ensure that the negotiations go very, very well. And so I want to encourage you to give off your best and to work very hard.
Let's now talk cocoa. A Sunafo North Cooperative Cocoa Farmers Union says it is bent on bridging the living income gap of their members to better their living conditions and income. This commitment was reaffirmed at the union's end-of-year meeting held in the Ahafo region, where leadership briefed members on achievements made during the 2025 cocoa season and outlined key targets yet to be achieved.
The Sunafo North Cooperative Cocoa Farmers Union brought together representatives from its 75 cooperative communities for its end-of-year meeting. The gathering provided an opportunity for leadership to brief members on achievements chalked up during the 2025 cocoa season, while also highlighting targets yet to be met. Emmanuel Nanasapon is the president of Sunafo North Cooperative Cocoa Farmers Union.
As I mentioned, the Sunafo is a cocoa group, a cocoa cooperative, which envisages to support its farmers in terms of development, in terms of relieving them from economic hardships, and then supporting them to have good agricultural practices. In view of that, we are now training them on, or talking to them, to turn to organic farming. When we start organic farming, it is going to support the farmers in various ways. Like talking about climate change, we are not going to use chemicals that are pesticides to spray our farms.
Management of the union says capacity building initiatives and farmer education remain central to its mission as cocoa farmers continue to face challenges, including low yields and rising production costs.
And one of the progress that we've made as a union with the support of our partner, 20 Open Chain, is the building of community projects like teachers' quarters at Kwame Nkrumah. We have also built a GSS block at Anyanya and KG block at Junase. So these are the things that we are doing to improve the lives of the farmers in their various communities. And we've done this, not only this, through the support of the premium, we have also been able to raise other projects in other communities through the support of the fair trade premium. And as I always see, apart from maybe organic certificate, you cannot compare fair trade certificate to any other certification.
The union says it will intensify efforts in season to strengthen farmer livelihood and ensure sustainable cocoa production across the Sunafo North Pality.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Tree Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andy Oseokra, says the authority will intensify its support for actors across the tree crops value chain as Ghana moves into 2026. Speaking at the authority's maiden Christmas carols and Thanksgiving service in Accra, Dr. Okra said the coming year will mark a period of acceleration with focused interventions aimed at strengthening production, processing and marketing within the tree crops sector.
The maiden Tree Crops Development Authority Christmas carols and Thanksgiving service was more than a seasonal celebration. It was to deliberate, pause to give thanks, and to acknowledge the collective effort that has driven the authority's growth over the past year. Chief Executive of TCDA, Dr. Andy Oseokra, says the authority will continue to support players within the value chain.
The year has been very good to us. For us, we got here, indicated that we didn't know anything about TCDA. We started extensive strengthening stakeholder engagement as another thing altogether, because we have a varied stakeholders. As you are speaking, we are happy to say that at least zonal officers are working, and more importantly, the northern sector zonal office was put in place. So we are very grateful. This is the first time in the history of Ghana that TCDA mentioned in the government budget of Ghana. President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, thinks that we can leverage on oil palm to transform this nation. In terms of pricing, all our crops, we've set the price, the minimum price for them. The recent one, which is mandated by law, December 15th, cashew has been set full. And today, the formula that needs to be approved by the board to roll out determining price for coconut was done today.
The Thanksgiving and Carol service was intentionally organized. TCDA's value chain actors, stakeholders, development partners, traditional leaders, parliament, and government institutions whose collective support sustained the authorities' work under the resetting agenda.
Now, founder of Web3 Africa Group, Dell Titus Bewa, has emphasized that the passage of Ghana's Virtual Asset Service Providers Law is critical to strengthening the country's economy. More in this report.
Speaking to Joy Business, Dell Titus Bewa said the absence of clear regulations has slowed the growth of the digital asset space, despite the sector's potential to create jobs, attract foreign investors, and expand financial inclusion.
I personally have, I've said that this is going to be a pivotal moment in Africa's prosperity. So it's not just about Ghana, it's about the whole entire continent. I see in the next, decade, I don't see why Africa cannot add an additional $1 trillion in GDP based on this industry alone, not just in Ghana, the whole entire continent. That is what I see. Not just economic prosperity, but talents. The talents we're going to develop, the key skills we're going to develop, the workforce, right? 70% of Africa's population is all youth. And so this industry is prime, very, very prime for that.
Meanwhile, the lead for virtual asset regulation at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Sarah Mpelkuma, has been explaining the details of the proposed law.
We have a passed bill awaiting presidential assent. Okay, so until the president signs, it can't be a public document. So we hope that before the end of this year, the president will sign so that we can all have access to the act. The act is the primary document with high rules to guide the sector, to guide the VAP sector. It is not the only document we are going to use. So apart from the act, we need to operationalize the act with using other instruments such as guidelines and directives. So in that document, the second document, that is where you have the detailed licensing and registration requirements. Now, if you have an act, it takes some time before regulation starts.
The VAP's ecosystem mixer also served as a platform for dialogue between regulators and industry players, highlighting the government's commitment to building a secure and inclusive digital economy.
And that's it for my marketplace for today. I am Pius Kojobaka, always a delight serving you. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business.